everybody, and welcome to How to Roll Dice for this week's episode of Tabletop Tuesday. I'm Josh.
I'm Brian.
And this week we have quite a few Infernal CID wrap-up changes to go over.
So many.
As well as some crazy Oblivion updates. Oblivion being the next CID after Infernals. Apparently it's not just going to be a simple CID, it's going to have some massive overarching changes for the game.
A lot happened this week.
Yeah, there was a lot of news this week, and we're going to try to blaze through it as quickly as possible.
There's no way we can touch
I actually have some notes on my phone here, so we're just going to... If you want more details, go check out the Privateer Press stuff, but we're going to try to tap on everything as we cruise through. So starting with the Infernal CID wrap-up, which technically wraps up at the airing of this video will be yesterday, so Monday. So we have summoning, massive changes to summoning. Summoning, the summoned model no longer gains its combat actions during its first turn. It has movement, and it will have each model will have a passive effect.
Yeah, so no more summoning them, charging them, wreaking havoc, and then who cares if he pisses away.
Exactly. And they sort of knew right off the bat, they knew right off the bat that was going to be pretty broken. They just wanted to see how broken. And apparently we did a great job of proving how broken.
Good job, guys.
Very broken.
Everybody did a great job.
So to summon a horror, you now have to pay its essence cost and sacrifice a model with marked soul. It is then summoned to the location of the model that you sacrificed. Some important notes to that. Marked soul is now specifically only on solo models, I believe. It's no longer on the cultist band, which is interesting because that was kind of...
Cultists are no longer marked soul.
That was like their whole thing. Like,
that was exactly why you were bringing them.
They're super useful, yet you have to kill them. Now they're super useful and you have to kill... Well, I guess solos are super useful too, plus they cost more. So now you have to kill solos as well as pay the essence cost to summon a horror.
They literally went from, we want you to be summoning every single turn because why not, to now to...
So specifically, we don't want you summoning that much.
We want you to, summon once or twice.
Take it back a step, yeah. Also, your range on summoning, meaning the model that you choose to sacrifice, has to be within your command range, not your control range. You still sacrifice a model within your control range for your essence refill. However, that is no longer related at all to marked soul. You just have to sacrifice any friendly, non-soulless model within your control range, and you refill your essence. To summon, it's a marked soul model within your command range. It has to be sacrificed, and you have to pay the essence cost of the horror that you're summoning.
Yeah, so the cultists are still important, but they're not
right. They've actually gotten
important anymore.
A big feature of this, and rather than repeat it throughout the course of this, they basically were able to undo some of the debuffs that they had done to various models and units because of how screwy summoning was affecting the game. They were able to sort of go back and repower some of those models because summoning was now turned down. So they basically turned down the master volume so they could then individually tune all the smaller, smaller settings.
I think they said their healing got better too.
Their healing, I think, went from base to base to a range.
Yeah,
which was base to base, and now it's a range.
That's a fair trade-off. I mean, I would almost rather range healing than them being the marked souls.
And I can't remember if I mentioned this, but all masters now have command 12 because the model that you sacrifice for summoning has to be in command range. And they wanted the masters to sort of have equal, rule over that ability.
And it's a fair range. So
it is range 12. It's similar to a control range. I mean, with Omodemos, I think it is his control range.
Yeah.
So not a huge shift there, but valid. I just want to make sure that because that's a big change to the way the faction functions. I don't want to miss any of that. They basically said instead of summoning every turn, we now want you summoning 2 or 3 times per game when you really need to. That's how they want the mechanic to work.
Which now, because of all of that, it's going to be changing the Heart of Darkness theme for us that they were talking about.
Yep. So Hearts of Darkness, they mentioned it will be coming back during the Oblivion CID, though it will be heavily revamped, obviously because so many changes have occurred during the Infernal CID that
so now they have to offset each other. Yeah.
Rethought. Because, I mean, just looking at the way that you refill your essence, right? It's now just any soulless model. Any non-soulless model. So if you were playing, say you're playing Signar, just pick a Trencher and he's your essence now. So that changes a lot. So moving on to some more model-specific stuff.
So cool.
It changes quite a bit.
Yeah. Then actually, I just realized like how that could be a slightly OP depending on how well we all want to break it.
Any of the 3 factions included in Hearts of Darkness, most if not all of your models are non-soulless. Yeah. So they'd all be essence batteries.
That's fine.
So moving on to some model-specific stuff, though, very quickly. Agathon, the Spellcaster Master, has been very heavily revamped. He's got a lot of new spells, he's got a brand new feat, and he has a couple new abilities. His feat, most importantly, is that it's now basically a control area aura, signs and portents on magic abilities and spells.
Yes.
Magic attacks. So whether it's you or your opponent, all attack and damage rolls from magic will have an additional die, and then the Agathon player will choose which die drops. So for your own models, you're obviously going to choose the lowest die to drop, and for your opponent's models, you're going to choose the highest die to drop.
Which is going to be great against going against magic-heavy lists, but the problem is if you're going to go against melee-heavy lists, like they were saying,
yeah, they
Wolves of Winter with like Butcher.
Yeah.
They
Very anti-magic, low magic, and so
we're not
going against that with a magic nerf isn't going to do anything versus going against some of the Retribution casters and the units that they prefer to bring.
Retribution Circle
Will have huge impact. So moving on from Agathon, there were some small changes to Omodemos. Most importantly, as far as we're concerned, is Flashing Blade is his new melee or combat ability, which should be pretty effective with those giant maces. Zadaroth stayed mostly the same. They're pretty happy with her. Some minor tweaks, but they said they like where she is right now. And then also a note on the she, because we noticed that we brought it up, but also tons of other people are bringing up the whole, like, what's the gender of the Infernals?
Yeah, what do we
Not to, like, poke the social bear of the current era, but we're just curious, like, fluff-wise, are they, because they're otherworldly beings, like, do they have no gender? Is sexuality not a thing, or are they actually he and her? Because...
Or their sexuality is out of this world.
That was bad. Okay, so Regna, the princess solo, who is the sort of lesser master. She's the infernalist, or master infernalist, or something like that.
She's a good guy from every Disney movie.
The bad guy from every Disney movie.
Yeah, depending on which side you're going for.
Sure, fair enough. She's the apple merchant. She can now control heavies. I believe at one point they gave her that ability, then they took it away because they thought it was too powerful.
I think she started with that ability, they took it away, they made it so
and now that summoning is fixed,
now she
they gave it back, so now she can have heavies again. And then the other big individual model change that we wanted to touch on with the Infernal Gate is no longer the Infernal Gate. It's now the Infernal Soul
the Infernal
monolith.
Fence.
Yeah, it lost the actual ability Infernal Gate. I believe it was called.
Infernal Rack.
So it was, well, do they generate? They start the game with summon. If you pull one, they blow up, yeah. So it still does all of its soul stuff. It generates souls, it collects souls, it passes souls out. It still has Knowledge of the Damned, which is awesome because you can use souls to boost attack and damage rolls, or, provide rerolls on other models, I believe, in its command range. So that's an awesome ability to be able to hand out. However, you can no longer summon horrors to the Infernal Gate as sort of like your landing location because it lost the ability Infernal Gate.
The gate lost the gate ability.
Right, it's weird. Like, I really feel like if they're not going to give that back, they should switch it to, like, the Infernal
Fence.
Pillar, or Column, or Monolith, or something.
The Infernal Land Decor.
Yeah, it's an interesting switch there. So, huge changes to the Infernals going from looking at the beginning of the CID to now.
Yeah.
The faction functions...
It's completely differently.
It's they still have the same idea. Like, they still work differently than everybody else, and they still feel very much like Infernals as they were described to us, but they're way more like they seem like they're not going to break the game and like flip the whole game on its head.
They're toned down heavily right now.
Right, yeah, they've definitely taken the volume down from like 15 to like an 8.
Like we all started off like, oh my god, what the hell can happen? Now we're all like, okay.
Now we've seen exactly what can happen.
I think I can deal with this now.
And we've turned it down. So probably good news there, but we'll see. The final rules will come out during Oblivion. So moving on to Oblivion. Oblivion is the next CID, where that is confirmed. So after Infernals, we'll have Oblivion. Oblivion is going to be, I believe, a new book, but it's not just a new book. It's actually, so if you're not sure, it's the storyline and sort of the campaign of, okay, Infernals have shown up. They're here to basically annihilate humanity. Yeah. How is this going to affect him? And it's that storyline. So lots is happening. So as part of the Oblivion release, it's not just a book and a campaign. It's actually several large changes to the entire game. So
and it's a box set too.
It's a box set,
which I'm looking forward to seeing how nice the box.
So the box set's going to include with it the release of the Infernal rules in full, the narrative campaign that goes along with basically the League, the cards that go along with the narrative campaign, a solo model of the Mad Prophet, which is going to be a model or a character specific to the campaign, but I'm assuming will be fully playable.
Yeah.
Following the campaign. No real detailed information on him yet. I don't even think they've released art yet. No. Or Hungerford did during like a slideshow, and people have been trying to share it around online, but it's super fuzzy.
It's super fuzzy.
They said they'll have better art out for him soon, or at least a concept. It will introduce Archons, which are basically angels. So obviously they're showing up to fight the Infernals. You're most likely going to see them for Protectorate because of Menoth, and within Signar because of the Morrow and Faith. However, they seem to be implying that there's more than just two. Because they keep saying, like, all of the Archons. We can't wait for you guys to see all of the Archons. That doesn't seem like two. That seems like way more than two.
I think somebody had mentioned on the Twitch chat that can we get a Grimkin Archon with a pumpkin head?
Pumpkin-headed Grimkin Archon.
Can we please get that?
And somebody else said a Darius Halfjack Archon.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that has the little, like, Mario Bomberman Halfjacks.
Which, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's kind of like a patron saint of each faction. They did say that not every faction is going to be getting a faction-specific model, but they said every faction
is going to get something.
Something. Presumably War Machine and Hordes. People were asking, something. Yeah, people were asking, is it just a War Machine update, since Infernals are here for humans and a lot of the Hordes armies are somewhat human, but a lot of them are non-human.
Yeah, they said, Trolls haven't screwed with anybody.
Right, but they said this is a worldwide campaign. It's going to affect everybody, so presumably non-War Machine armies are going to be getting new stuff, or at least playable stuff as well.
You think like Trolls are like, oh, stupid
humans. If they could just stop screwing stuff up.
Like, just live.
They've created all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
So they're in their own kind of trouble there. The biggest news, which I don't think anybody saw coming, about Oblivion, is that there's basically going to be a completely new rules. They said don't call it a remix. I feel like it's a remix, guys. I mean, yeah. I mean, in my notes here, I put Mark 3.5. So basically, they're saying there's going to be a new set of rules for the game. Obviously not completely new set, but they're going to be changing major mechanics of the game. Not faction specific, not an errata, but like charging works like this now, or here's how throws work, or line of sight is now this way.
I don't know how I feel about all that. I mean, there are some rules that are kind of weird, and they could be tweaked.
Yeah, they said it's going to be for streamlining, which is what they said about Mark III, and some people hate Mark III, and some people think it's a great improvement. I personally feel like it does streamline the game, though we'll touch more on that in a minute. We haven't been having too much luck with streamlining.
No.
Some of you guys know about that. You've been trying to help us out with it.
And thank you for all the feedback.
Yes,
really appreciate that.
We're going to touch on that. But so, huge changes to the game, new releases, new faction release, new campaign, angels, plot demons. Points. It's going to be I mean, they said, like we said at the beginning of the CID, Infernals are essentially the equivalent of the devil. So now the angels are arriving. So this is literally like the heaven-hell war is going on Immorin now,
which is kind of cool. I mean, it'd have been fun if we would have gotten like an entire faction of angels.
Yeah, well,
we have Clockwork Angels.
It's true. We'll see. We'll see how many Archons we get. So moving on from the Oblivion CID, following the Oblivion CID is going to be the Steamroller 2019 CID. Yes. So obviously that's just going to ramp up or revamp the CID, the Steamroller rules.
Yeah, we should be looking forward to playing some of those.
Yep. Hopefully we can figure out 2018 before 2019 kicks in.
Hopefully.
And then quickly before we get to our battle report section, we just wanted to touch on the new mini crate model is the Ancestral Guardian Angel, which is not an Archon. They did clarify that.
It is a Weeping Angel.
It does look a lot like a Weeping Angel.
Don't blink.
Like if you made a Guardian into a Weeping Angel, that's pretty much what it looks like. And several people have already commented like that's how I'm painting.
Yeah.
You know, so they have that spray paint that's supposed to look like granite, like textured granite when it dries from like Home Depot or whatever. I wonder if anybody's just going to go get that and just blast the model and then touch up the base and be like, there it is.
There it is. Yeah. Put some moss on it.
I'm sure people are going to come up with homebrew rules of like if this model is not in any opponent model's line of sight, it gets reposition 5 or something like that.
That'd be horrifying.
That's actually pretty. That would be like perfect. That's all you would need to do.
As long as it's within someone's line of sight, reposition 5.
Reposition 5. Yeah.
There we go. Boom.
So if it gets around your army, it can then shift 5 or something like that. And then as far as releases go, the Steelhead models, the Gunner and the Alchemist, as well as I believe their weapon crews, the new weapon crew with the 3-weapon option, are all released now. So if you wanted to pick those up, feel free to. That was the first time I actually got to see the concept design for the Steelhead Gunner, which is Rulik, a dwarf. And it's really cool. He's got a shotgun on his shoulder. He's holding a pipe in one hand. He's got like a big bushy beard.
I actually really love the Steelhead artillery crews. All three of them look really cool.
They look a lot like Civil War era, like multi-cannons. Yeah. Like they're pretty cool. Some of the designs that came out back then.
Those are going to be fun to see painted up.
So that's it for notes on Privateer Press releases and news. We wanted to touch on our gameplay progress quickly. So we did our first live stream last week. A lot of you guys watched it, which we really appreciate. We're probably going to do another one today. We're hoping to up the camera quality because we're actually going to use a camera instead of my phone. And we're not going to do it last minute. I'm actually going to like set up a tripod and lighting and a camera.
And the dog's not going to knock it over.
The dog's not going to be walking through the room and whacking all the cabling with his tail. But so we played that game. You guys can go check it out if you want. It's on our channel. It was Hammer Strike versus Kador. It was a 75-point steamroller game. I believe we played the Pit. Yeah. Or the Pit 2.
And a lot of people did say that was a bad.
They said it was a tricky matchup because it was an armor-heavy army versus an armor-heavy army in a troop-heavy scenario. Yeah. And so, was it true? Basically, it was a bad setup. It was a bad pairing. But at the same time, we both had some troubles. There were a lot of critiques from people online, which we asked for.
We're still learning these armies. We've been staying, we're doing little tweaks here and there, but nothing dramatically that will change the entire
that's one of the comments that people had was like, pick a list, stick with the list, learn it inside and out so that you don't have any sort of like double checking the rules. What's this guy's speed? What's that guy's defense? And so you can really get through turn 1 pretty quickly, you can get through turn 2 pretty quickly, and then when things start to get muddy, you don't have so much confusion going on in your head, you can sort of just do it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We started off good, but then it just started going down.
Yeah, according to a lot of people online, we didn't even start off good.
Yeah.
Like deployment placement was bad. But if you guys could live tune in today, though it's not like you can see this in time for me to have told you that, but hopefully some people will live tune in today. I will probably put out like notifications on Reddit and Instagram so that maybe some people will tune in and can give live advice.
Yeah, live advice would be great.
But not on like what to do, but just like speed up or what you did there was wrong, just sort of so we have like an instant hindsight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna try to play another game, random steamroller scenario, 75 points. I'm probably gonna play. To be fair, I have made a new list because one of the notes that we got in the critique was you should play with Death Clock because Death Clock, even if it doesn't end the game or even if you decide to keep going past when the clocks run out, knowing that there is a clock and a time restriction on your play will affect your list building. Because
it makes you move a little bit faster.
It makes you
like flood your.
So Hearn and John, for example, I love Hearn and John. I think they work great with Osram. I think they work great with Durgan. Because Durgan's feet turn works really well with them, and Osram's fire for effect ability works on the barrage aquabus shot. However, their turn takes a long time because it's you move 2 models, then one model uses an ability on the other, then that second model makes a shot which not only has a target that you have to roll for and may deviate off of because it's an AoE, but then that deviation location spits out 2 additional AoEs which you also have to deviate, and then roll damage on everything underneath all 3 AoEs. That's a lot of time for one 2-man unit to
activate. The problem is like what happened last time. I took John out real damn quick.
Right.
And then, what did you have? You were left with Hearn just walking around.
But even if they were successful, they just add a lot of time to every turn that they're a part of. And in a game where you're supposed to be taking into account turn timing, overall turn timing, and how quickly you can get through successful mechanics, bringing them in, they just slow the game way down. So I was looking at my list and I was like, okay, let's keep that in mind. Let's build a list that uses mostly models that I know well. That way I don't have to do a lot of new learning. I'll still have to learn some synergies. But mostly models that I know well and models that I know activate quickly and efficiently. And so I did that. And that's the list I'm going to be sticking with from here forward. So we'll play another game today. It might be us, it might be one of us with one of our friends, but there should be a game up live stream today. And we're going to try to play more aggressively, get up the field quickly, position quickly. A lot of the advice was just don't overthink. Just go for it.
Just go for it, yeah.
Don't go in blindly, but like just pick a move and go with that move. Yeah. Versus getting into this sort of analysis paralysis and sitting there and thinking, well, I could do this or I could do that. But maybe if let me try. What if I start with these guys versus those guys? No, okay, they're not ready yet. Okay, I'll do him. And you just sort of like don't do anything for 5 minutes while you're thinking when your whole turn should be closer to 5 minutes. Yeah. So that's today. We're going to give it a shot. Hopefully we get better at it. Like I said, if we could get it figured out by the time 2019 rules roll out, that'd be awesome, because then hopefully there won't be too many changes and we can just kind of spin right into it. But yeah, so we'll see you guys during a live stream later today. And if you don't happen to catch that, hopefully you are watching this and are willing to check
it out and see how we do.
Give
us some pointers.
And other than that, we will see you guys in a couple days for this week's Themeless Thursday. This has been How to Roll Dice. I'm Josh.
Brian.
And thanks for checking us out. We'll see you soon.